This is Rich Prendergast for the Town of Old Lyme, June 13th, regular WPCA meeting. I have here in the mezzanine, Rob McCarthy, Dmitry Tolchinsky. I have online for WPCA members, Steve Tsunami, Steve Erwowitz, Brad Yerkes, and Andrea Lombard. We have a quorum. We have some WPCA members missing. They may be joining later, having technical difficulties. Tonight's meeting, the regular agenda is a call to order, approval of minutes, a budget updates. We'll have probably some discussion with the budget updates. We have the business of Carmody service options and Ledgelight help update. Then we have the Soundview Sewer Miscellaneous Area B projects, update on water funding and grant applications. Then we have some correspondence, a new business, public comment, and adjournment. So with that, we'll get to the first order of business. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for May 9th?
Approved.
Okay, I got a motion and I seconded. Dmitry seconded. Erica, did you get who made the first motion?
I did not. Who was that? Brad, was that you?
Yes, it was me. I'm
Brad
sorry.
Yerkes.
Tried to mute in and out. Apologize.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Open discussion on the meeting minutes. Any WPCA members have a comment, concern on the minutes? I'm not hearing any. I'm not seeing any. So I'm going to call for a vote. So for those and then I'll name off the individuals because we have to do that when we're doing a hybrid system. For those in favor of approving the minutes from May 9th, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay, so Dmitry and Rob said aye. Brad Yerkes, you said aye. Andrea Lombard, how do you vote? Okay, let's go to Steve Tsunami. How do you vote?
Aye.
Okay. Steve Erwowitz, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Andrea, I don't know if you're trying to talk to us, but we can't hear you. How do you vote? Okay, I'm just gonna call this almost unanimous with noting that Andrea wasn't able to vote. Moving on to the next thing though is Andrea, so I hope that we can settle this out. I'm gonna try and pull up and share my screen of the money part. Andrea, are you able to speak? Okay, so I'm gonna try and find the file here, and Andrea gave me a heads up on what her report was, so I will try to do justice. Okay. Share the screen. So what you should see is a screen where it has a summary of the WPCA budget year to date. You see that we have had very little expenses. We have a clerk, obviously, that we have expenses for postage. We had a very nominal amount, 57 cents. Infotech, which is Carmody Systems, we've made the annual payment. That was a while ago. If you look at our budget, we have $84,931.43 left. That's out of $88,422 spent. We have not spent any of our budget. You know, personally, we only spend if we have to spend. So that's the budget. There's a carryover amount. A total of $56,700 total with $55,311 left over. Those items were legal and project consultant. So did any WPCA members have any questions related to these numbers of this update?
question, Rich.
Thanks for doing
Yes.
that, Rich.
No.
So I think there was a question from Steve Tsunami.
Yes. I don't know whether it's because it hasn't been spent or encumbered, but when you go down to the carryover, it shows that we spent 10,100 and I don't know, and like another 200 and something, and that mine from 56,000 should be like 46,000 and change, or 45, and it shows that we have a remaining balance of 54. I don't
That's correct.
quite understand how it's.
I just noticed that error too. It is the right amount expended, but the remaining balance didn't tally right. It was a formula that didn't catch it.
Right, so it's probably,
hear
it looks
me?
to me like it's the.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
I just updated it. So,
Andrea, it looks to me like it's an addition error on the on the expensed, because it only showed $1,388. I mean, I don't know how that is. That might not even be a formula, but whatever.
It's the formula wasn't put in right. That's what it is. But the numbers are correct.
Okay.
The 10,128, the 5550,
Right, okay.
the 278.21.
Okay,
So it's
all
roughly
right.
11,000.
That equals,
okay.
okay, all right.
So
I
here's
wanted
the
to-
thing. No, thank you for bringing that up. But we did not expend that much of our budget yet, but we have a carryover request due this month. So it is a good time to think about and have that discussion about what do we anticipate spending and what do we want to request the carryover for. And I know
Right.
we're sort of in a holding pattern, figuring out what we need to do because there's so much uncertainty over the next.
So right now, that is the question, and it's something we're gonna grapple with. I think what we'll do is we'll probably end up releasing some of that carryover, at least from the legal part, because the legal parts would, the expense isn't gonna be something, we paid off some big legal bills so far. That's the 10,128. And the legal bills that we expect are part of the bond council review of the next stage, which right now looks like it'll happen in the next financial fiscal year, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the kind of thing that we'll have to look at. And when we get a new budget, we'll get a new amount for that legal, so we can release it. And I don't know if there's future legal expenses that we're not aware of. But once we complete our design part of our Clean Water Fund application, we will be able to get the states to give us pay for the bills, and it becomes a short-term loan, then a long-term loan. My point is, it's been very challenging to write a budget for this because there's nothing usual and customary about this. So, advice we've gotten from the Board of Finance in the past is if you put the money in if you need it, and if you don't need it, give it up. And that's what we'll do, I think.
Are you talking carryover that we already carried over, or just our current budget?
Our current carryover, our legal expenses, we thought were gonna be a lot more, and they weren't. And so we have a bucket for legal expenses that are reasonable in the future that are reset. So we're gonna release a lot of, because we haven't spent that much money. It doesn't mean that there might be spending next year that we have to do. What it means is we haven't had it this year. So, it's not fair and it's not right for us to carry something over unless we have a solid estimate. And we're trying to work on that, and I don't know if there's a
So,
right
Richard,
answer, so we're taking a conservative answer.
I do have one question because I'm not sure how it will work with the finance committee. If we release the money and then something comes up where we have to ask for it back, is that a tough process mid-budget year?
It's an
I mean, once
impossible.
we release it, it's gone. So once we release it, it's gone.
So Rob is indicating that he also believes that once you release it, it's gone.
No, once you release it, it's gone. But depending on how much money you need, you can go to the board of finance and ask for more money for budget.
Yes,
And I have the records, we can just up to like $20,000.
$20,000 is a trigger, for the town needs a referendum to change the budget.
Up to $20,000. Say, hey.
Right. Yeah,
So-
and let me finish. We've also had the Board of Finance, approve taking from one miscellaneous, thing to finish off an expense. As long as it's, and I don't know the exact formula, as long as it's not, like paying for all of it. So they said if you're a little short on one budget item, you can borrow from another budget item, but you have to get permission and approval for that, and that's kind of what a miscellaneous for. And this happened once before to us where we were like a $5,000 bill and we were $500 short. So they approved that. Was there another question?
Steve,
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Tsunami.
So, we, we reduced our budget by about $27,000 for next year from this year. We only have a budget of 57,000. I don't know what our budget for fiscal year 2024 is going to be, but it's considerably lower.
We didn't do much lower. I mean, we knocked off something like 10,000, so it's still pretty significant and it seems reasonable for what we know.
I think it's more than 10,000, but I'm not sure. I think when I was at the town meeting, I think it was like $23,000. But
Our budget for the WPCA next year is not $23,000. It is much more than that.
No. I said I
No,
think
he
we
means
knocked
less.
off
Yes.
less.
That's so.
I think it's like 50. It's 58,000 somewhere around there. Is that correct?
I asked for that budget and I couldn't get it for this meeting.
I
That got submitted last
have it on
December.
my computer. I have it on my computer. I think it's in the 50s, but regardless, I think before we give up legal, we should take a look at what we've budgeted for both legal and consulting, and try to figure out where we're going to be in this process. Because I wouldn't be surprised if we have to have some legal expense
Mhm.
in the next fiscal year, as well as consulting if we go out and bid. But the other question I have is, did I ever hand in my my reimbursement request for the plans and specs that I purchased?
I don't
No, you
believe so.
did not.
So thank you for that donation, Steve. I'm
It
kidding.
may be.
I'm kidding.
It may be. I don't know. I don't even know where it is. I mean, I gotta find it now. All right. I'll look for that because I'd like to get reimbursed for that eventually. That's good.
If you could
Okay.
put that in this week.
Okay.
I'll have to find it this week. All right.
Can you
So-
hear me? This is Randy.
Hi, Randy. Yes,
Good
Randy.
evening, folks. Good evening, members. I just wanted to ask, Steve had uh, said earlier that a few weeks back that there were copies of, you obviously got them, plans and specs. But when I talked to Tim Griswold, he said they didn't have them available. Is my information wrong? Because I was hoping to get a look at that. I mean, I'm happy to pay for it, but I wanted to look at it and just understand, get ahead of the game in terms of reviewing it. If there were any things that we
Tim
could
is
be helpful.
mistaken. Randy, Tim is mistaken.
Well,
I left the
it's
plan.
possibly he misunderstood. So speak to Katie and she'll find them for you.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's all I need to know.
See, Katie also might, if one of the WPCA members has taken them out, they're supposed to leave them here and look at them here, but it's possible, but she knows where they are.
What I discussed with Katie was that there are two sets of plans, one set of specs. I said if they're only available to WPCA members, and they have to be signed out so we know where they are. So she has them. I hand delivered those, so I know she has them.
Yeah.
So for me to get a copy, sorry, Rich, I could just go there. I mean, I'm happy to reproduce the documents. I mean, and they'll stay in my hands. I'm just hoping to get a look at where we are in design so that when we finally, hit the road running, so to speak, I'm up to speed. So thank you.
I think if you just grab a set from the town hall, Randy, they're there.
Okay.
Well, that's
Back
all
to
I
the
have
budget.
for the moment. Thank you. Thank
Back
you,
to
Steve.
the budget issue. Any other questions or comments?
Did we consider requesting some of the carryover?
Well, I think we are. I think, so we had 50,000 in carryover and maybe give up half of that. The idea is, and when I get to the update on the sewer funding application, I think that might also help you understand what it is. That we get some more information about details.
Well, since the Steve point, I'm pretty got a little over, but next year we do have spend a bunch of money. I said not miss to have it, but be happy to ask for it.
Agreed, yeah, because it is a one-way trip. As far as you lower it, it's very challenging to go back and get more money if it's significant, if it's over 20,000.
Right.
Yeah, I think that right now that's the gut feel, and we're planning on having a discussion, the treasurer, myself and Steve, because we had some other things that were gonna happen this weekend. And I'll get to it. So, and I guess when I have that discussion, we can, if we need to, we can talk more about the budget at that point. I'm trying to stick in order, because there's two things that affect each other. They're interrelated. If that makes any sense. Any other questions about the budget? Okay, I'm gonna move forward to the next item up, which is the business and its Carmody's service option and Ledgelight help update. I'm gonna frame this and then I'd like to hand over the microphone to Steve Tsunami. The idea is we have some need for editing some of the client or resident records for their septic system. Someone finds a mistake or some change. So there's some minor editing. From what I've been told in the past, there's not much editing. And then there's also running the reports that show when people's septic systems are overdue for pump out, that we didn't send out a letter. Those are the two primary things. There's probably some more detail. And the idea was Carmody might have a solution for us, because we don't have a person in the town hall that does that. The other option was asking Ledgelight if, who is our health district, who currently looks at, septic system repair approvals and, those kind of things to see if they would be willing to do it. So, that's the framing of it. It's the problem that we've identified and possible options. So Steve, do you want to take over the microphone and comment what you've learned and what you've researched?
Sure. So I finally tracked down where to get the contract, and that was from Ledgelight District themselves. It's more of like well, it's a contract, I guess. But they feel as though record keeping of any type, besides, so they keep their own records. By state statute, they're keeping their own records separate from town records. So they have all this information on their system, but they won't enter it into our system. I haven't gone through the full thing. I got it last Friday. Haven't gone through the full thing. He's insistent that there's no way any data entry or clerical, for that matter, if someone wants to go into Ledgelight, to our house, our thing, talk to Ledgelight about something on maps, for instance, they would send them down to the clerk. They wouldn't even help them that way, which that's what he's saying. I said, well, I have to review the contract more in depth and see if we want our legal department to look at it. I mean, it's a contract. If I say, I think they clearly should do the work, and we feel that way, then maybe we should have our legal look at it. He's saying, well, if we did it for one town, we'd have to do it for all of them. I don't really care. If it's in the contract for them to do it, then they should do it. But like I said, I have to read the whole thing, which I haven't. The other thing is it's renewable every 2 years, and I don't know how much we're paying, and I don't know how much it would cost for us to keep our records up to date. The only way Carmody is being updated now is via the septic pumpers that actually enter the data. I guess if we get a paper copy, it's not being entered because Ledgelight won't enter it. I guess I don't know how much we pay. I don't know how much a town sanitarian costs. But that would be the other option, is to not renew our contract and have someone work for the town again. But give me till next meeting, and I'll send stuff out prior to the next meeting so we can discuss more fully at the next meeting. And that's I guess my request there.
Okay, so let me add a little something to that. We save a ton of money by having Ledgelight versus having a full-time person with benefits doing this work. Because quite honestly, it's not a full-time job as far as volume of work. I'm looking for the amount of money because I think I know what it is, but I think it's in the neighborhood of $60,000. It's interesting that they have their own records because I don't believe they have their own records. They have someone that works in this building two days a week. And I would think that all the records for the town are here. Yeah, 60,000 per year for the first 2 years. Is the fee that they charge. And if anyone knows anything about full-time equivalents or hiring employee, the benefits and the salary, it's well above that. And that's why the town did that. And I'm surprised that they don't see this as part of their job of managing the records. And quite frankly, I'm thinking it's like an hour a month. You know, as far as running the report or having access to the database. So maybe it's worthwhile, you know, Steve, digging in a little bit more, as you said, you know, asking questions like, you know, what's your records versus our records look like? And I think it's also possible to talk to our legal and see what their interpretation is, because those services listed, you know, once they say health services, and if you go look at the desk, that's the person that occupies 2 days a week, it is filled with septic system, you know, details. You know, septic systems that are being revised or approved, you know, so to me,
So,
I was
Rick,
a little surprised. I was a little surprised by their response.
so
So this is
Brad,
my
did
take
I make
on
a
it.
comment? Sorry.
Hold on, Steve Tsunami go, then Andrea. Go ahead, Steve.
So, I mean, yeah, if we hired a full-time employee, but like you said, it's not a full-time job. Apparently, it's a 2-day job because that's all she's in our office. And I'm sure she's at other people's offices the remainder of the week doing work for other towns. So the question would be if we would be able to get a part-time sanitarian that would cost less than $60,000 a year. If we wanted to not have legislate do it. If I personally feel if we can't keep accurate track of records, then they're not fulfilling all the services that the town needs. I mean,
Yeah,
we spend $3,000 a year on a program that is not being updated. So not being updated if we receive paper copies. It is being updated by the septic pumpers if they're in the system. So I think that I think that we just need to investigate this further. That's all.
okay. So
Can I
Andrea,
add something? This is Brad.
yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Is there do they have another stream of revenue by having that information and they're not, I'm just asking, being a new guy, just trying to look a little out of the box, that there's a reason they wouldn't give that to us. I'm just asking.
I think I might be able to put some light on this. So we are formally a district. It's not that we can now lightly walk away from this or hire our own sanitarian. We can't do that as part of a health district. This is governed by state statute. And definitely wells and septics are part of the 10 essential services that are covered in our public health district local agreement. The contract I scanned was a little bit vague, but if you remember, at one point, the sanitarian also attended this meeting. So I do think that there is some obligation to help monitor this, but I do also think we need to meet minds and just get it better defined, because clearly I didn't see real clear language around this, and nor have we really asked them for it in the past. So I'm sure we can resolve this, but I just think it's probably going to be a couple meetings and really discuss what the needs are.
Well, one thing is, I think you touched on it, is maybe we don't have Carmody anymore. So we ask them, say, give us a monthly report of all the septic systems that are 7 years or longer expiring. As far as they haven't been pumped out. If they have records on it, let's see it. I'm positive, I'm not positive, I shouldn't say positive, but I'm pretty sure they don't have those records.
We got Carmody
let's-
because that's the system they use. I mean, so they're familiar with the system. I thought we got Carmody because Ledgelight was using that system.
No, we got Carmody because it saved us time and effort, because the
Right,
clerk
but
had
it's
less
the
time.
same.
but
Right, but
other
it's the
towns use it. It's a
same
very popular
system.
service.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Ledge
is.
Light,
It's a very
I don't know
popular.
what Ledge Light works. If Steve says that they have their own data, what is their data versus our data? I mean, one of the key things we need is, I think Carmody's great because anyone that forgets their septic system status, they can just go online. They don't have to talk to a human person.
Right.
Because the alternative is they call up at Ledge Light, and has anyone called Ledge Light? I mean, I've left messages, and the only way I get a response is to someone I know in Ledge Light that doesn't work in that department, is they go give their phone to somebody who does what I want them to talk about. So, and
I
Ledge
have
Light
not
does
had that
more than
problem.
just septic systems, okay? They provide health services during the COVID pandemic. They were very active.
Yeah. They have, their job is pretty well defined, and I'll be happy to work on this with you, Steve.
Randy,
Thank
did
you,
you want to
Andrew.
say something? Okay, any other questions about Carmody?
I'm getting Boston already to do some reporting.
There was supposed to be a trial beta site thing where they do the admin for us. So I don't know, Steve, did you have an update on that?
No, I didn't look into, I didn't know I didn't know that was part of my, I didn't know that was part of my, purview to look into. I didn't look into it at all. I didn't,
Okay,
I
that
thought I was
is,
looking into Ledger.
that
I mean, I
that
will.
is, yeah, contact Carmody and ask them about this, and Jennifer Data, who used to be our clerk, she's the one that they
Yeah.
keep calling. And she's the one that had the details that explained it to us, so I can dig up an email if you'd like, that she kind of outlined.
I think I have that email too. I'll look for it. If not, I'll contact you.
Okay. Any other questions about Carmody? All right, moving on to Soundview miscellaneous area B, projects, clean water funding application status. The Clean Water Fund contacts we have at the Deep asked us to share about our application. I reviewed it with Wood and Curran. I commented or gave an opportunity for Steve to comment. And we responded back saying, yeah, the application's good, process it. Where we are with that is they're supposed to approve the 60% and give us funding. The 30% they should have given us, the 60% they should give us. So that could help us with the contractors that have done some work and have been paid, and Wood and Curran. They would then go Wood and Curran and then update the program for the 90%. That's why you may have been listening in. You heard Randy saying he wants to look at some of the plans. So we have a number of WPCA members that have some specific skills that they're looking at the plan to see if they see any problems or have any questions. That we're told is been processing. So to tell you the truth, it's about a month overdue, and I've been talking to the state, asking them where it is, and they tell me that they're working on it. They don't tell me when they're going to have it done. Any questions on that before I go to the next item? Okay, not hearing any. The next item is the status of the additional funding and grant applications. So you may have read or heard that the state offered us, what I remember was $17 million in additional grant funding, up to 50% of the project costs for us and other private beach associations to put in sewers and old line. They did this verbally. Then they had a spokesperson that was not in the meeting say that the Deep is actually evaluating funding alternatives. We had a deadline of June 1st to get the details. That deadline came and went. We had a meeting scheduled this Thursday. And I was notified today, they called me as well as sent an email that they have to postpone the meeting because they are not ready for the meeting to have the details. Uh, the $17 million, would substantially lower the costs for residents of the town of Old Lyme. That doesn't mean that all the beach associations feel that that's enough money. There's one beach association that won't say how much money they need, but will also say that it's not enough. So that meeting was supposed to happen this Thursday, the details, it is not a public meeting and it's a negotiation meeting. We were told today, I was told today, I got a phone call from somebody in the state that said that they were going to need a couple more weeks to have that meeting. That meeting kind of outlines the details that helps us figure out our budget. The legal parts, because there could be elements in there that we have to pay for legal that is not included in the loan. That's what we're hoping to define in time to put in our carryover requests and, you know, our you know, to manage our business. So we may have to make a decision now based on flawed or incomplete information, at least from a budget point of view. It's a little disappointing that they haven't been able to come up with the details. They did say that the deep person that I talked to said they're still committed in helping us. They've been working on this project for a long time. They would see this project being shelved to be a failure on their part. So with that, this triggers a different conversation that if that funding is not available, we have other alternatives that we're working on through a bonding process. And we're then possibly adjust if they're not going to give us the funding, the same amount of funding or something like that, then we'll go through the bonding process and see if we can get the makeup of the bonding process. This is state bonding, not town bonding. And so where we are is where we've been. We don't know. That's my update. Go ahead. You have questions? Anyone? WPCA members? I see Steve has his hand up. Go ahead. Steve Tsunami.
I was wondering, I was wondering if you think that we might want to go into executive session or have a special meeting that is basically an executive session to discuss or to bring the group, the committee up to date on everything involved in this project concerning the state and the other beach associations. I
don't want to do that now.
I'm a
because
little I'm a little perplexed myself.
I don't want to do that now because I'm not prepared. But we could have a special meeting with one agenda item, which is executive session. The special meeting would be posted to everybody so they can go and listen to the opening and closing. For those who don't know, executive session is for a discussion where it has some implications that if it was made public, the town could lose its leverage in negotiations. No decisions are made in executive session. No motions are made in executive session. So, but I think if you feel strongly about that, we could hold a special meeting sometime at another time. But I'm not prepared.
I do. Well, and I certainly respect that because it's a big ask. I wouldn't expect you to do it now, but I do feel strongly, but I don't speak for the whole group. I'm just wondering if the other people on board want a little more information on status.
So Steve asked a question to board members. What do you think? And it might be a tough question because they're asking you, do you want to know more information about something you don't know about?
Well, I'd like some clarification. This is Brad. That would be nice.
Okay. Rob, you're about to say something?
I think until you have that meeting with the state, I'm not sure, you know, if there's all the information that will be available. Is all available.
Yeah, so there's the state information and there's the beach association's information. So, I mean, I don't want anyone to feel like I'm not sharing. You know, because I'm not making the decisions. Whatever I get some information, I try to feed it back where appropriate. So, Dimitri, did you want to say something?
The state promised to give $70 million. There was a meeting in November. That one, no,
I cannot hear him.
I'm going to repeat what he says, paraphrase, because I have one computer here. Sorry.
that one said that there is a date state would to wait until 1 year to do the road of 156. So it's $1 million saving if we're gonna do it before state.
So let me say what you just said so they can hear it. So Dimitri said, he's a member of Old Colony Beach, which is one of the members of the sewer commission, sewer projects. And their president, Doug Whalen, commented that the states promised, 1 year. And if I get this wrong, you correct me, but it involves the paving of 156. And 156 has delayed paving from Hartford Avenue to Niantic for this project. If the state paves that 156, it will cost us an additional $1 million. And the DOT has agreed to delay that. But if we delay much longer, the DOT will pave that, in which case our costs will go up $1 million. So there's that issue. There's the issue with our IMA in New London. This is a new thing that I wanted to bring out, and that is our contract says it's good till September 2023, unless if there's no progress made, then you have to renegotiate. So we're in the process of just getting a letter to talk about what that means and if we're making enough progress in their eyes. It's very possible, knowing from the past negotiations, New London will ask for an additional deposit. And a deposit from them is thousands of dollars. It's not like $500. So we've put all that information to the state. They know this. They know that, you know, timeliness is important, and that's why we had a deadline of June 1st. And when that didn't happen, I reached out and asked for a meeting. And that meeting was supposed to be Thursday. And then today they said they're not ready. So it doesn't make any point in having the meeting. So that's that. Any other questions? I think, Randy, you might have had a question, and I don't want to silence anybody. I'm not hearing any more
Rich,
questions.
can we see if the other people would be interested in an executive session? Because it's not that it's not necessarily the state that I'm interested in talking about.
So it's an executive session on everything that's going on, the current status. That's
correct.
I think maybe we'll have the executive session. We'll plan it. It'll be a non-standard, non-regular meeting. It'll be a special meeting. It'll be posted on the town website with 24 to 48 hours notice. Probably do it next Tuesday. Since now I don't have to go to the deep on Thursday. I might have some more time. Uh, I mean, unless someone, a WPCA member objects to this, say something now.
I think it's a good idea.
I totally agree.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'm going to move on to the next item unless someone has a final comment on this subject. Okay. So correspondence. I sent a list of the correspondence. Steve already talked about ledge lights. We had a request from James Moynihan about the project status and about, I guess he's a member of Olam Shores, and about Olam Shores project status. I gave him the information and pointed him to our website of our status and what we know from last summer's, and asked him to speak with the WPCA of Olam Shores. He thanked me for giving the information and answering the questions that I could. The next, so I'm going to kind of run through these, and someone, WPCA member, have a question, let me know and I'll stop and talk about it. Senator Martha Mox requested a plant tour on our behalf of New London's waste treatment plant. So I'm going to set up a plant tour. I don't know the details of how many people can go. I know when I do plant tours at my plant, I limit the number of people for safety reasons. The more, we have a rule that one person for 10, one guide for 10 people. So maybe I'd have to figure that out to see how many people want to go, WPCA members. I've heard from other people that it's a really fascinating plant tour. If you're into this kind of thing, they're very proud of their plants. I'm definitely going to go because I can probably have a conversation with the director of utilities about what he's heard about the renegotiation of our IMA. The next one was a response to a Rosemary Daniele at 21 Flagler Avenue. If you remember our last meeting, she requested an exemption from pumping her septic system out because she doesn't use it that often. I called her and I included the letter I sent to her, and the letter basically says, we discussed it. We don't feel it's appropriate to exempt someone who has a lightly used system. It's a bad precedent. So we didn't motion to allow the exemption, which means we decline the request. The next item was well, it's back to Stephen Mansfield and the contracts for Ledgeland. That was provided. Does anyone have any questions and comments about the executives, about the correspondence?
So Randy here, one question is, so Senator Marks wants a tour of the New London wastewater treatment plant. Did I get that right?
No, she requested a tour for us.
Okay, well, I've worked in that plant for years and years, so I know it very well. So I'll be happy if the schedule accommodates everybody to help out with that. But okay, I'm just trying to understand. She lives in New London, so
she's been there before, and she was trying to be helpful. I didn't ask for it, but she thought it would be good for us, and so she offered it, and she has connections, obviously, living in New London and being a senator. So I'm not saying that we could have gotten it on our own, but I think it's something to do, and it's a nice thing to do. And thank you for your help, Randy. You probably know the director of utilities, Joe Lanzafame, and
I do, and I know the Veolia people that maintain and operate the plant, so I'll be happy to try to help.
So I was thinking of requesting a Friday afternoon. I think that's a good time for us. So I'll get back to you and copy everybody on that when they would allow us to come in and do the tour.
Okay,
Any other comments or questions? Okay, run the item of new business. Any WPCA members want to talk about new business? Not hearing any, I'm gonna go on to public comment. So if you haven't done public comment before, we invite you to make a public comment. And the way we do that is you can make a public statement. We don't engage in a debate back and forth. We will take the comment, take it in consideration. If you want to make a public comment, if you could state your name and I'll recognize you and we'll get to everybody. So if you're waiting in line, I guess just be patient. So would anyone like to make a public comment?
This is Mary Daly. This is Mary Daly. Can you hear me?
Hi, Mary Daly, you're recognized.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. Just a few comments, if you would. On the subject of harmony, I really think that it's either up to the town, the WPCA, or health legislate, either one, somebody related to the town to officially notify residents when their pump outs are due. I think it's not appropriate to leave it to the individual homeowners to, after 7 years, know that it's time for them to pump out. That should be an automated message, either by email or text or US mail to each homeowner that their pump out is due. Otherwise, I'm not sure it's going to be effective. And yeah, absolutely, you need to have reports, whether they're stimulated or created by the WPCA or by Ledgelight. There should be regular monthly reports on when these pump outs are due. Otherwise, I don't see the value of the ordinance. The second question I have, or concern, is in regard to the plant inspection in New London. I was at that meeting, Mr. Prendergast, when Martha Marks suggested it. And that walkthrough, as I understood it, since I was there, was an invitation to the people at that meeting, which included the Soundview Sewer Coalition. So if that's no longer true, then perhaps the Soundview Sewer Coalition needs to reach back out to Marks and see what her intention was, because that was pretty clear to me at that meeting, not just to the WPCA. The third question I have is in regard to information sharing. I know Moynihan reached out to you, as he reached out to all of us, a few of us. And his concern was things that happened the end of March, April, in regard to New London and the agreement there, statements being made by Frank No on behalf of everyone, including the town, saying that we would be shovel ready by the fall of 2023, and therefore please extend the agreements. But are we going to be ready by the fall of 2023 when, as I've heard tonight, Randy Nixon and a few others have not even seen the 60% of the plan that has been provided? So we don't have 100% of plan. How could we possibly be ready by fall of 2023? Is that an honest statement to New London? I kind of think not. So I guess I'm kind of questioning who's representing who here, who's driving the boat. If the town is being asked, as I think I've heard before, to take ownership of the 17 million, then the town should be driving the boat, not Frank No, and not the public beaches anymore. But that's my perspective on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Anyone else would like to make a public comment?
My only thing is that
So hold on a second.
ownership.
Dennis Maluzzo is going to make a public comment. He's recognized. He's in here. I'm going to try and repeat what Dennis says because my microphone might not pick everything up.
I can, so I can speak loud. Two things. Mary echoed my take on Mr. Noy representing the Congo line in negotiations with New London. When the Congo line is 30% of this project.
and is the spearhead for sewers. I think it should be the other way around. I don't believe that we should be listening to somebody who has a financial interest in having sewers on Hartford Avenue. And to the cost factor of any negotiations. As Mary alluded to, he's been projecting himself as being quote unquote shovel ready. And with the terms of September 1st looming in 2 months, you're looking at $600,000 in a payment. Who makes it? How the line? Make the entire 600,000. Does Mr. Noe representing Old Colony Beach, and I guess he's the potentate for O-line shores. I mean, we don't hear anything from him. I have yet to see any minutes coming from Old Colony Beach in regards to the sewer project. And if in fact he is representing the town of Blue Line, then he has a duty to advise us as to minutes of meetings, conversations he's had with other members of the sewer district, conversations with the state, conversations with New London, and conversations with state senators and representatives. And it's not being done. We're left in the dark. We have to be like a private detective searching for information because it's not being set up in front. That's one thing. He's wrong in the aspect of Doug Whalen is wrong in the aspect of DOT. DOT is going to pay, and they're going to pay this, and they're going to pay all the way up to Hartford Avenue. You're still going to have to pay for paving for Miami Beach. Because they're not stopping at Miami Beach. They're coming up to my street, Portland Avenue. So I don't know where he's getting his information from, but it's erroneous. That's all I've got.
Let me finish my notes here. So, Steve Tsunami, can you confirm that you heard what Dennis said?
Yes, I heard him. I heard every
Okay.
word of what Dennis said.
Okay. All right. Would anyone else like to make a public comment?
Richard Brian Cornell here, Portland Avenue Extension.
Hi, Brian. You're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Just to say, I've been taking some copious notes here on this octopus with too many arms that doesn't seem to have an appropriate direction. But I'll take my notes back to the Soundview Sewer Coalition and discuss it with them and Dennis and Mary also. Thank you for your time, Richard.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else would like to public comment?
This is Mary again, and I hate to come back a second time, but I do have a question in regard to paving. It's interesting they're going to stop at Hartford Avenue. What happens to Portland Avenue? What happens, like Dennis said, Miami Beach, all the other streets? Is that going to be covered by the project? It doesn't make sense that they're going to pave. And from what direction are they going to pave up to Hartford Avenue? Because Hartford Avenue is in the middle. There's Hartford Avenue, Portland Avenue, Hartford Avenue, and Swan. So I don't understand why they would stop or begin or end at Hartford Avenue. But again, and I guess my biggest peeve here is communication, information sharing. So much of what you plan to do in executive session or suggest to do really doesn't have anything to do with public bidding. It just has to do with information sharing. And truly, we are concerned about the direction of this project. You don't have really, you don't have funding yet. We're just so concerned about what's going on, and we would like to be informed. That's all we are asking at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any other public comment? Okay, I'm gonna end the public comment. A couple things. DOT has stopped paving Route 56 at Hartford Avenue because that's where we have to dig up the road and install a force main. They are not paving Portland. They're not paving Hartford Avenue. They are just 156 from exit 70 up to Hartford Avenue. We are worried that they will keep on paving, which would cost us money, where we'd have to dig up a brand new paved 156 from here to Niantic and repave it. We are pressuring the state to get the pressure of the DOT. And we have some retired DOT people in the beach community that know people and have confirmed in an email that they are willing to stop and wait for this program. But they're not going to stop forever.
Just to clarify, that
Yes.
$1 million price tag is if we had to dig up or repave from Hartford Avenue to East Line.
Yes.
That if a little bit of new pavement gets dug up around Portland Avenue or Miami Beach, that's not $1 million. That's just, it's tens of thousands of dollars. $1 million.
Yeah. So it's a misunderstanding of the terms. So some of the other things, let's see. Carmody system, we do notify residents right now when their pump out is overdue. We do not remind residents the pump out is due or is coming due. It's up to the residents to do that, but it's something to consider. The New London plant tour, I'm happy to invite the Soundview Coalition. I maybe forgotten that's you want to go. That's fine. I will reach out to the Soundview Coalition president or some other members in that meeting, and when I find the time that in the details from New London, if they have some kind of limit or some kind of rules, I will share that information. The comments of speaking on behalf of the beach associations, everything he says to New London, he shares and is approved by me or the vice chair. I should also point out that we have a separate amendment to the IMA, so New London has to treat us with communication, both Soundview partners, the other beach associations, and us. The shovel ready comment about Doug Whalen said, if we had the money, we could start building the shared resources now. We have approved plans that are 100% approved for the pump, the forced main, the trunk. We have 2 rounds of bids. What we don't have is the money. We don't think it's economically feasible. So that's why we're going to get more money. So if the state gave us the money, they could build that portion of it. The town of Oline's Soundview sewer part of it, we are not that ready for it. It is not a requirement that our WPCA members look and approve the plan. We paid a qualified engineering company to develop a plan. They're developing a plan. They submit it to the state. The state approves it. Once the state approves it, they can issue that we can then go out for bid and get bids to do it. And then we'd have to approve the whole process. So we are trying to catch up to where the beach associations already are. But the big thing is during the pandemic, supply disruption, huge amounts of cost increase. If I could remind everyone that the shared the force main and was something like $8 million more than we thought it should have been. And that was, maybe that price will come down, but if it doesn't, we need more funding to make it economically feasible. Let's see. As far as sharing information, the only reason why I have an executive session is when we're negotiating, and there's some things that are leverage dependent, and if we make it public, that's why we have an executive session. I try to share everything I can, but there are still things that we have to go over. Nothing in the executive session gets decided. The contracts are all exempt from freedom of information when they're being negotiated, but when they're signed, they're available for everyone to look at. We have a process where the WPCA approves some kind of contracts and recommend to the selectman's office to approve it. For the selectman's office to approve it, the first selectman requires us to have the town legal counsel look at it. So there's safety checks in there. It's not like we just said, oh, that's good enough, and do it. There's safety checks in it, and the town's legal counsel is looking out for the town. They're actually kind of a very hard to get through all the issues, and so their primary job is to protect the town and try to get the best deal for the town. And they are been instrumental in a number of events and contracts that I've been involved. That's all that I had. I don't know if any WPCA members have any other comments. Okay. A motion to adjourn. Someone make a motion to adjourn? So Rob made a motion. Can I have a second?
Second it.
Dimitri seconded. Maybe some others seconded. All those in
Brad, you're
favor
seconded.
say aye. Do you guys, Rob, do you say aye?
Aye.
Dimitri, you say aye? Steve Tsunami, do you say aye?
Aye.
Andrea Lombard, do you say aye? I think you're saying aye. Steve Urban, do you say aye?
Yep.
Randy
Brad
Nixon, do you
Dirks,
say aye? Brad Dirks, aye. Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you, everybody, for attending tonight. Have a nice night and enjoy some summer weather, and talk to you later.
Tomorrow,
Okay.
all of them.